Good morning from Florida. Gray Eagle here again. Nice day here in Florida. Got a chemtrail in the sky. I mean cloud. Well, this is a report called "The Workman is Worthy of His Hire." It's actually an editorial opinion. And it's my opinion, not necessarily the opinion of anybody else. We've got some scriptures here to start out with. I'm not going to read but the first one, but the others are Luke 10:7, 1 Timothy 5:18, Deuteronomy 25:4, and Malachi 3:5. And Matthew 10:9 and 10 says, "Provide neither gold nor silver nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey, neither two coats, neither shoes, nor yet staves. For the workman is worthy of his hire, rather of his meat." Also refer to 1 Corinthians 9:4-15, and don't forget all scriptures given in the King James Version on my videos, unless otherwise noted, and it usually is not, because I don't use any other version. I'm not a King James only, but when it comes to internet material, I use the King James only. In 1992, I worked for a local limousine company here in Pinellas County. I had the opportunity to pick up a gentleman at the airport in Tampa and take him to a local hotel. I dropped him off, then at 8 a.m. the next day I picked the man up and took him to a business meeting. Several other stops along the way. One such stop was at his parents' house in St. Petersburg. Now mind you, I'm driving one man around all day, approximately 10 hours total, in an 8-passenger limousine. One man in an 8-passenger. At a rate of about $55 an hour, and of course the bill was put on his company's expense account. Now this in and of itself is just a common everyday occurrence and is in no wise noteworthy, except for one stop we made in Clearwater. It was at the Burger King restaurant on Highway 19. The man called the manager of the local branch of the company where he worked and told the manager he was ready to be picked up. And I thought to myself, that's odd. Why would the man want to be picked up by another company employee and ride over there to the plant in the employee's sedan, when he's riding around in an 8-passenger limousine driven by a well-experienced driver? In fact, I was a little miffed over it. So upon his return, I asked the gentleman why he chose to ride over there with the plant's manager instead of the limousine. His response was a little shocking to me. He said he did not want the employees to see him riding around in a limousine because they would want a raise in pay, saying if the company could afford to hire a limousine for a mid-level manager of the company to ride around in all day, they could certainly afford to give us a pay raise. Well, that's absolutely right. They could have. They instead chose to be cheap and oppress their employees and their wages. Then there's the story of my ex-brother-in-law. Well, we'll call him Barry. Barry is a mechanic who was trying to start his own business repairing cars, but then a friend of his recruited him to be the supervisor in the mechanics department of a local dealership. He did not really want this new responsibility because his own business was going pretty well, and he was satisfied with his situation. But the dealership offered him a large, I think it was $50,000 a year. I would have been too for $50,000, and so he was convinced to take the job. But it was not long before the dealership's upper management learned of Barry's good fortune. So they hired 2 mechanics for Barry to train. Long story short, unbeknownst to Barry, at the time, he was training his own replacements. In fact, I believe Barry said that they were immigrants, recent immigrants to the country. And he was fired and replaced by these 2 immigrants, and they received far less compensation than he did, and their 2 combined salaries were less than what he made. So he was on unemployment for a long time after that. The same thing happened at another company here in Pinellas County a few years back. Employees had to train the Mexican workers that would eventually take their jobs away from them. Big businesses' dirty tricks to cut costs will go down in history, certainly as embarrassing as the Lynchburg eugenics program, the LSD experimentations on military personnel in the 1960s, the Tuskegee syphilis experiments on black men. This country has plenty in its history to be ashamed of. We certainly do not need any more. Now, this attitude is all too many employers today. You say, what is wrong with that? Well, to start with, America used to be the place where an honest day's work got you an honest day's pay. Not anymore. Subterfuge and chicanery to keep the wages low rules the day now. Secondly, it's a violation of Judaic-Christian principles. Let's take a look at the Bible. Malachi 3:5. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, against the adulterers, and against the false witnesses, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow, the fatherless, and them that turn aside stranger from his right. And part 2 coming up shortly.